When I had to make a change, you know the things just weren't right. I looked around for someone else to blame. I searched and I reached down inside. And I knew when I found there's a light I can hide. Can be free. I can be free. I can rise above. I can be free. I can be free.
Good afternoon, everybody. This is Dr. Duncan McCollum coming to you from KSCO Radio. And that was Tony Lindsay singing Steve Funderburg's song, I Can Be Free, or You Can Be Free. And you know you can. And but if it's going to be, it's up to me or up to you. And Tony Lindsay, by the way, was the guy that sang the Star Spangled Banner at the last Giants game. He's sung several times. They're a great, amazing guy. 11-time Grammy Award winner, singing with Steve Funderburg on his song. And, you know, it's really important to understand, you know, that we can be free, but we have to do something about it ourselves. We can no longer just expect that we're being guided by caring, loving hands. You know, it kind of reminds me of the story of the cattle. We're all traveling along this way, nobody paying attention, just kind of being guided slowly down this fenced area. And near the end of the fence, it kind of got narrow to where only one cow could go through at a time. And it was a long chute. And then at the end of the chute, there was a cowboy on top. And every time a cow would go by, he would kindly take his life off this planet, and he'd be put in a truck and crated off to the butcher. And all of a sudden, one of the cows halfway back in the crowd looks up, looks around and goes, oh my God, stop, go this way, stop, go this way. And then all the other cows just went moo and pushed them along all the way into the chute. So it was too late for them. But, you know, there's so much that we can do to make sure we're not going down that path guided by maybe not so caring hands. And it comes down to, number one, for me, trying to help people realize their health potential, knowing that very few people die of old age in this country anymore. Most people die of some kind of chronic disease. We spend $4.3 trillion on healthcare in this country. And it's been stated by the NIH that 75% minimally is used to manage symptoms. So there you go, traveling down that highway of life with fences on both sides, and people are pushing you along. And down at the end of the chute are several medications to handle the many chronic diseases most people have. 80 million Americans have multiple chronic diseases, according to Michigan State University. So what can we do about it? Well, you can, number one, just start to make the investigation yourself. Just go to the CDC or NIH websites and ask about how the United States is for obesity in the world, how the United States is for health in the world. You'll find that we're the most obese country in the world, and that we're rated 47th in the world, and that we take over 50% of all of the medications made in the world. And we're only 4% of the population. So that's kind of scary. So what can we do to become healthier? First of all, I guess it's a fair question to ask, where's your health right now? Now, there's a lot of people out there that feel pretty good. They're doing well. They're, working hard. They're making a living. They're putting money away for their future, and not a lot of attention on their health because it's seemingly doing great. But what ends up happening down the road when the other shoe drops and you start to get chronic disease? I was talking to one of my patients my age, who I've known for over 20 years as a patient, and the other day, she told me that her medical doctor put her on cholesterol medication. And she just kind of didn't blink an eye and decided to go ahead and do it. And I started asking her questions. She showed me her cholesterol levels. They were a little bit high. They were right around a little over 200, which is considered potentially high. But her triglycerides were below 150. They were right around there, which the triglycerides and that was in a normal range. So, there are other things that you can do to bring down the cholesterol. Now, let me talk about cholesterol for a minute for anybody out there considering what to do about it or whether what they have done is the correct thing. So first of all, the brain is made of fat. The fat in our body, all of we have fatty acids that help make up neurotransmitters and hormones and help keep our blood vessels malleable and so they don't get brittle and cause issues that way. So cholesterol basically has a function of going around and depositing fatty acids along the way to damage tissue to help it repair. And the body's always constantly repairing itself until it can't do it anymore, or different systems start to break down so that system can't do it anymore. So if you think about a delivery service, you have all these different companies delivering to your house these days. They leave the office filled up to the brim with boxes. They drive around the country and they keep dropping off a box along the way. So that is how cholesterol works. High density lipoproteins are the healthy cholesterols. And as your body is being damaged by oxidation, by toxicity and all kinds of different things, stresses that cause oxidation, which is a bad thing to the cells and different parts of the body. And it causes damage to the organs and the tissue and even in the brain. The cholesterol travels around in the blood, and these delivery trucks filled up with high density lipoproteins drop off a molecule and help restore the damaged tissue. Then they travel along, and eventually those high density lipoproteins trucks are empty and they become low density lipoproteins. So the process is the liver makes healthy cholesterol. It travels around the bloodstream. It drops off needed molecules along the way to help restore and rejuvenate the tissue and becomes low density lipoprotein. So to decide that we need to lower our cholesterol from first 250 when I graduated from chiropractic school 35 years ago, all of a sudden it went from 250 down to 225. And how many people were put on statin drugs? Then it went down to 199. How many more people were put on statin drugs? Now it's 175, and they want to make it down below 149. What do you think's happening to the delivery companies that are supposed to be delivering these cholesterol molecules to different organs in the body, including the brain, so it can stay healthy and get rejuvenated all the time? Well, instead of getting your delivery within 24 hours, it might take a month. It might get lost along the way and it might be out of stock. So the idea of looking at cholesterol by itself in a blood count and deciding it's a villain and giving you a medication that actually not only can lower your cholesterol, statin drugs, but it also in the heart knocks out in the mitochondria, which is the power plant throughout our body. The eyes and the heart have the most mitochondria of any part of our body, the little power plants. They knock out something called the cholesterol medication or statin drugs, diminish coenzyme Q10, which is vital for power function inside the mitochondria. So it's kind of like a oxymoron. You give somebody cholesterol meds to protect their heart, but you're knocking out the coenzyme Q10 that makes the heart strong. Now, sometimes people are given coenzyme Q10 or recommended it by their medical doctor, other times not. In this particular patient of mine, I asked her if they gave her coenzyme or recommended, and she said no. So now, if you're on medications for high cholesterol, don't go and stop it just because I'm talking about it. You need to go query with your medical doctor, get a complete blood count, and find out, what else you could potentially do, because there's ramifications of any medication you put it in your body. There's something misnamed called side effects. They're not side effects, they're direct effects. Any medication has symptoms or effects. They might want something to create an effect. All the other ones they say are side effects. Well, let's take a look at the medication called gabapentin. Gabapentin is widely prescribed for pain, body pain. It's called an off-label medication when it's given for anything other than seizures. Gabapentin is a medication that was developed for epileptic seizures, as well as Lyrica and a few of the others. So they just kind of found, oh, you know what? It actually kind of helps with some nerve pain. So now it's given liberally to people with nerve pain. It's not doing a thing to reestablish the function of the nerve or rebuild the peripheral nerves, which we know unencumbered can grow a millimeter a day if you take the right nutrients and do the things necessary to help the nerves grow. You can redo that. So peripheral neuropathy, which is a big word, which has so many symptoms that it's ridiculous. People are living with this, not really paying attention to one or two symptoms, but as it gradually increases, it can steal your freedom because you can no longer walk on uneven ground. You're afraid you're going to fall. Each foot has 26 bones in it, and there's only 206 bones in the body. So combined, your feet have 1/4 of the bones of your entire body. Now, the feet of the bones, the bones of the feet and all the nerves connecting to it give you balance, and they communicate directly with the inner ear, which is like a gyroscope. If you know what that is, when I was a kid, you'd spin it and hold it on your hand. It was pretty cool. So the gyroscope in your inner ear communicates with your feet, and between that, you can have balance. So as you slowly, insidiously lose some of the sensations in your feet, whether it's hot, cold, vibration, numbness, tingling, whatever it might be, there's a myriad of these things, then your brain is no longer getting the signals from your feet. So you start to lose your balance. And then eventually, after you fall a few times, or you just stop doing some of those things you'd like to do. So, but that has to do with the nervous system. And around the nerves, by the way, every nerve in your body, that you have 31 spinal nerves that come down the center of your, from your brain, down the center of your central canal, which is inside the spine, and that's called the central nervous system. And as soon as those 31 spinal nerves exit on each side, making 62 spinal nerves, divide and go to 75 trillion cells in your body, those nerves divide and divide and divide to communicate with every cell and every organ and every system in your body with your brain, telling the endocrine system what hormones to secrete into the body so that the body's functions stay healthy. Now, hormones have fatty acids necessary in them in order to for your body to make them. And of course, if your cholesterol is dangerously low and the other stresses in your body aren't being handled, then your hormones aren't going to be able to function correctly. Not only that, if your body's toxic, then the cells can't hear the hormones anyway, because the hormones attach to the cells of your body. That's what hormones do, the 75 trillion cells, right? So now this cholesterol actually helps make a sheath around those peripheral nerves. The sheath would be like if you've ever seen house wire, or even the wiring that goes from your lamp and plugs into the wall. There's wire on the inside and there's a plastic covering around it. That would be the sheath of the nervous system. Those would be the sheath of the nerves or the sheath that covers your peripheral nerves that go to every cell and organ and tissue in your body. Cholesterol helps make up a cushion around each one of those peripheral nerves. And that cushion is filled with billions and billions and trillions of tiny little blood vessels called capillaries. Those capillaries carry blood and oxygen to the peripheral nerves to keep them alive. Your nerves need oxygen to stay alive. When you're people with diabetes, for instance, which 60 million or 60% of the United States are diabetic or pre-diabetic. This is just the diabetic part. When those sticky red blood vessels called your A1C, your sticky blood vessels clog up the tips of your toes and fingers, it stops oxygenated red blood cells to get to the periphery or to the tips. So those nerves start to die, just like anything. You deprive it of oxygen and it will die, unless it's an anaerobe, which means it lives without oxygen. So the cholesterol that we have to make sure that we're getting good oils. Now, my book, New Hope, Turn Back Your Biological Clock, is being rewritten right now, and it should be out within a couple months, but it's updated to some of the newest information out there. Based on a lot of Dr. Dan Pompa's stuff. And I talked to him just the other day about some of the stuff that I want to change in it. And it's really important for you to get educated yourself, but know what you can do and what you shouldn't do. Know when to hold them and know when to fold them, when to walk away and run. And unfortunately, too many people try to take their health into their own hands by doing late night searches on the internet or talking to their best friend who is now an expert at different types of health because they've been studying it on the internet with no practical clinical experience with thousands of patients. In the Dr. Pompa group, between the 30, 40 docs that all meet once a week, we probably serve tens of thousands, if not over 100,000 patients between us. And between that, we're able to do a lot of get a lot of understanding of what works and doesn't work. I'm going to take a short break, and I'll be back in just a couple minutes. This is Dr. Duncan McCollum. We'll see you soon.
I can be free. I can be free. I can rise above. I can be free. I can be free. I can rise above.
Hi, this is Dr. Duncan McCollum, and I have this amazing patient, Gayleen, here, who walked into our office, well, barely walked into our office, and she'd had a lot of attempts and tried to fix her health, and she's had some tremendous changes here. So I was wondering if you would like to just tell our audience about that.
Well, like Dr. McCollum said, I came into the office in December, hardly able to walk and bent over. And within 3 visits, I was standing up straight, walking. I couldn't believe it. That's never happened to me before. It's been a very rough road, but we're getting there, and I'm very grateful.
Yeah, and you had 2 back surgeries as well, right?
Yes, I did. Yep, in 1995. 1995, yeah.
And so they didn't really solve your problem.
No, they didn't.
And you came in, we did some stem cell treatments on you and some chiropractic on you, right?
Correct.
Yeah. So you're happy. I'm
happy. Everyone here is just awesome. They're all here to help you. They're all so sweet. And I'm glad I came here.
Thank you so much, Gayleen. And I just really appreciate you being here as well. You're such a pleasure when you come in.
Thanks.
So you should listen to Gayleen, see if we can help your health.
That's right. Anyone that needs help, please come in.
Thank you. Hey, everybody, this is Dr. McCollum. I have this amazing guy, Gary, here, who's a new patient to our office. And he just came up to the front and started talking about stuff, and I wanted you to just express what you were telling us.
What is really satisfying to me is coming here and meeting fine people like Natalie. And frequently she's the utility player running around the office. And you can always tell that Natalie's on the phone because she will always say, McCollum Chiropractic, I can help you. And you know what? She can and she does. And it just makes my heart jump just to realize there's such helpful and friendly people in the office. Everyone from Angus, who runs the TRT machine, the other chiropractors in the office, and the administrative staff like Arlene, very friendly and very helpful. If you want to feel comfortable at a chiropractor's office, come to Dr. McCollum. He's conveniently located off of 41st Avenue.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Call today for a complimentary consultation, 831-459-9990.
All alone. And there's nowhere left to go. The truth is right in front of you. You will.
Hello, everybody. I'm back, Dr. Duncan McCollum, McCollum Family Chiropractic, McCollum Wellness Radio. I love listening to Gary. Gary heard us on KSCO, might even be listening today. He came all the way up from down near Monterey and became a patient of ours. And within a few weeks, he knew our office, the way we ran our office so well. He knew the way we answered the phone. He knew the staff. It was really fun. And you heard us laugh at the end because he was so funny at being able to duplicate everything we do. But anyway, so we're really talking about different, deciding to take your health into your own hands. However, I have a pretty important precaution that I want to talk about. And I just actually sent this off to Dr. Pompa early in the week, because as I'm rewriting my book, Turn Back Your Biological Clock, I'm updating it because some people, unfortunately, are delving into too deep and dark of an ocean without enough information, and they can do more harm than good. In other words, when you've got things like heavy metals, molds, hidden infections, glyphosate toxicity, and other chemical toxicity, and already have chronic diseases turned on, then it can be dangerous trying to detoxify yourself. A lot of times people go and they grab something off the shelf and they do a little thing that kind of makes them feel good for a couple of days, but really does nothing other than stir the pot. So I put in a little portion of my book that I'm going to read right now. It's called Self-Care Dangers, and I ran this by Dr. Pompa, and he absolutely wanted me to include it. And it says, Self-Care Dangers. Remember, the body is made up of 75 trillion cells, each cell performing 60 million functions a minute, all controlled by the brain and nervous system. Piecemealing various fragments of detox programs or consuming bag loads of supplements touted as today's next miracle pills can be dangerous and detrimental to your health. Self-care based on late-night internet searches often result in a collage of disrelated health protocols, many times offsetting each other, if not causing artificial or non-natural imbalances in supplementation. This can not only damage your organs and tissues, but actually can create adverse reactions in your body, resulting in chronic inflammation, exactly what we are trying to eliminate or reduce. The major problem here is that people are desperately wanting and needing help. They have given up on Western medicine and are seeking for any hope or help out there. The thing is, if Western medicine hasn't figured it out after spending $4.3 trillion a year on healthcare in the US, regardless of their motivation, what chances does an individual have spending their spare time searching the net or taking advice from a self-proclaimed alternative health expert to crack the riddle of the fountain of youth, turning back their biological clock or reversing some chronic autoimmune or life-threatening disease? It's a recipe for disaster. Get the help of a real expert, someone who understands how to, quote, fix a cell so you can get well, unquote. Your life may depend on it. One last point, when people try these helter-skelter remedies, which at best may mitigate symptoms for a while, but never get to the upstream cause, they eventually give up and either fall back into the medical model or give up hope altogether. So, the thing is, when you get tired of what's going on with Western medicine, or they don't have answers for you, you seek out, understandably, other sources of information, and there's a lot out there. And what I have just a patient come in the other day with several different bags of supplements from several different healthcare providers and or what they heard about on the internet. And they say, well, this is supposed to help that, that's supposed to help this, and this is supposed to help the other thing. And when you look at it, there's not a complete program there at all. And likely nothing is going to culminate in a very successful result. So you spend thousands of dollars on supplements, some of them causing more trouble than helping, the combination of which stressing organs that are already stressed in the first place as they're trying to detoxify them. And then you end up with the same condition or worse, or others developing than you started with. So you give up. And when you give up, you either fall back to medications to cover up your symptoms, or you just give up and just suffer on through life. So this is not the way you should do it. If you have just minor things going on and you're trying to improve your health this way or that way, you'll probably get away with it and do a lot better than covering up symptoms with medications. But if you have a chronic disease or several chronic diseases or an autoimmune condition, then you probably want to get somebody to take a look at it whose toolbox includes finding the upstream cause of the problem. And a lot of times what I see is people come into my office with bags of supplements. The supplements they're natural and organic, maybe. Very few of them, I'm sure, when you buy them off a shelf, have been tested for toxins, heavy metals, and contaminants. Any product that we recommend in our office has been reviewed by Dr. Dan Pompa and tested, independently tested for any toxicity and for potency, and or by Shane Morris, the clinical biologist for Systemic Formula, who also tests their substances before they even go into the shop for things like glyphosate, heavy metals, molds, other types of chemicals. So when you go buy a supplement off the shelf, you don't know where it comes from. Large corporations say, hey, XYZ, glucosamine sulfate, say, is really popular. It's in the top of the news. It's the #1 search substance. I don't think it is right now in healthcare. Let's go get a whole bunch of it. Where can we get some glucosamine sulfate? Oh, those cows over there. Okay, let's get them, and maybe some sharks and this and that and that and this. And they grind it up, throw it in a capsule and put it on a bottle with no regulations. Forget the government regulation, but how about the regulation by the producers to make sure that there's no contaminants in there? Right now, we know that lead and mercury are the two top contaminants, heavy metal contaminants. And lead we get it 4 generations down through mom's umbilical blood, along with all the others. But, and just think about how many people are on medications for depression, anxiety. Well, depression, lead toxicity, depression is the top of the list for symptoms of it. And mercury, anxiety are the top of the list. So, rather than just jumping to some medication covering up the symptom, how about looking at what's causing the symptom? Now, life happens. There are things that happen in life that cause problems. I did a radio show with Reverend Freddie Shaw right when the article came out that debunked the fact that selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors actually did anything. And if you look up the article, it was debunked about half a year ago, or you can look up my radio show with Dr. Shaw. But after 20 years of, vast dissemination of these serotonin uptake inhibitors, all of which do is wear out your synapses because of the chronic itching You know, if I had an itch and I kept itching and itching and itching, pretty shoot, I'd scratch my skin away. Well, that's what these selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors do. They inhibit it from the serotonin from being reuptaked, and then it's constantly there. It wears out, it wears you down, and it's damaging to your health. So, you know, when you come into the office, or these individuals that are buying these supplements off the internet or in the health food store, probably the health food store is going to be a lot better than some of the major frontline big box stores that are going to be selling this stuff. And I really doubt that they have so many products on the shelves. I really doubt that they're making sure there's no toxins in that stuff. You know, for instance, there's a product called Cat's Claw. It's pretty popular for different parts of the circulatory system and the elimination system. But 2 of the cat's claws are effective. The third type isn't. So who's to say that they're not getting the right cat's claw? You know, profit over, I don't know. It's just kind of crazy. But when you look at the vast majority of people that are supplanting medication with herbs, sometimes you're not really, in vitamins, you're not really looking for the upstream cause. You're just using the vitamins and minerals and herbs to mitigate the symptoms that the drugs may be. But if you're not looking for the upstream cause, which is usually heavy metals, molds, and hidden infections, all the way up into the brain, especially the pituitary and hypothalamus gland, then you're not really doing yourself a lot of good, except for you're not getting more toxins from the medication. But anyway, the reason I read that is I think it's really important to understand that your body has this innate intelligence, this incredible power to heal itself, and we just need to get out of its way. Dr. Reggie Gold, one of my mentors, always used to say the body needs no help, it just needs no interference. And the interference, when you look at what Dr. Pompa's work is, it has to do with the cell, the individual cell. Listen to Dr. Bruce Lipton. He says the cell membrane is the smartest part of the whole body. And, you know, the cell membrane is the thing that takes in nutrients, takes in information from the hormones that attach to it when it can. It allows in different substances, especially glucose and ketones, to make energy. There's another cell wall on the little mitochondria getting into the power plant. And then energy is made in the mitochondria from ketones and glucose, but the exhaust has to get out of the mitochondria, through the mitochondria cell wall, all the way through the 75 trillion cells, out of the cell wall into the interstitium, which is the tissue around the cells. The lymphatic tissue will gather it up, take all those toxins through the bloodstream, through the liver and kidney, and out the body. But when our body is toxic, and we live in the most toxic time on the planet today, our livers and our kidneys can't do the job. That's one reason we are so toxic in this country. In fact, the United States is one of the most unhealthy countries in the world. So I'm going to take another break. I'll be back in a couple minutes. Thanks for listening. Dr. Duncan McCollum, McCollum Wellness Radio. I'll be right back.
You can rise above. You can be free. You can be free. You will rise above.
Hey, this is Dr. Duncan McCollum, and I have this amazing patient, Lauren, here, and she had a few things to say.
Hi, I'm Lauren Spencer, a local realtor, and I've been seeing Duncan for years now. I had a biking accident and he's been adjusting me since then, and it's been amazing. But lately I've had trouble with my feet, and I'm an avid walker, avid biker, avid golfer. And my feet were aching all the time. And I tried Duncan's TRT machine, which is an amazing stem cell machine that rejuvenates the cells. And my feet, I've had like 3 or 4 sessions with the machine, and my feet are like new, no aches, no pains. It's a miracle. So I really highly recommend Duncan and his chiropractic services, but also that TRT machine. You got to try it. Thanks.
Wow, thanks, Lauren. That was awesome. So we still have the $49 special. Come on in and see if it works for you. Thank you. This is Dr. Duncan McCollum, and I would like you to listen to a couple testimonials from my patients about our new TRT machine. You should come try it, but here's what they have to say.
A year and 2 months ago, I got knocked down by a horse and I got a grade 2 pull on my hamstring. And from there, everything went to hell. I was walking 3.5 miles a day. I went from that to walking less and less because it was so painful, and my other knee started hurting me. And then I stepped off a ladder and jammed my knee. It took me the next morning 5 minutes by the time I stood up to get out of my bedroom. It was so painful. At the same time, I found out about the TRT from the doc, and I knew that that was for me. So almost feeling completely normal. So it's been great. I was walking stiff-kneed on one side because it was just flopping out of place. Now I can bend my knee and walk. I totally recommend this one time, and you'll just go, whoa.
You don't realize how much you use your toes for balance until there's no feeling in them. And so I've got the feeling back in my toes, and my balance is greatly improved. Definitely recommend it.
So call today for your $49 introductory special on the TRT machine to see if it works for you. Call 831-459-9990. 831-459-9990. McCollum Family Chiropractic.
Whenever you're lonely and no one's around, just try to remember that we found.
Hi, Dr. Duncan McCollum back. Those words, whenever you're lonely and no one's around, when your health is down, you know, when you stop going out to enjoy things because your body's just not doing what it's supposed to do, this is when you really need to call our office or somebody else. But make sure that you find somebody that is going to be looking for the actual cause of the problems. Sometimes emergency medicine's needed, or you need to do things that will knock out the symptoms enough that you can get along. But even when we're talking about things like peripheral neuropathy and the medication they give, it's only knocking out the symptoms. It's not really doing anything for you regarding handling the problem. So I kind of have to laugh a little bit. One of my several weeks ago, I did a show after coming back from the northern states, and I did a show on one of my friends who's up there who was having some health issues, and he ended up, you know, I went through a lot of stuff with him, and he just could not understand or see spending money on his health because his insurance wouldn't cover it. And, you know, he's got some pretty, you know, some issues going on that really should be handled, or it's going to steal his future. And, you know, the guy's got a couple homes, he's got lots of fun vehicles, he's got, you know, all kinds of things. He lives up, you know, he's in this beautiful part of the world. And I told him, I gave him a number, and I said, I'm not going to treat you because you're my friend, but you need, you know, plan on this much. And he could not imagine spending this much on his health. And it wasn't that much. You know, then I thought on my way home, wow, you remodeled both of your houses for probably 6 figures, each of them. No insurance paid for that, so that you can have a, you know, remodeled house. No insurance is paid for your vehicles that you drive. No insurance is paid for, you know, all these other things that you like to do, but you'll readily spend money on that so you can enjoy them. But when your body's getting to a point where you may not be able to enjoy it, if insurance doesn't cover it, you're not going to spend it. it was kind of funny. But what ended up happening is this guy I'm talking about, his wife's sister listens to my show up in Sacramento. Listen to the podcast, McCollum Wellness Radio podcast, which you can, all my shows are on there if you want to go to podcasts and listen back. But she sent it to her sister, who is the wife of this guy, and it kind of got back to them in a roundabout way. So kind of funny, but I have to be careful what I talk about. However, if I'm trying to help people learn how to be healthier, I guess, I have one chance. So that's a lot of times what I tell people when they come into my office. Usually I'm the last stop. There was a gentleman that came in just the other day who has been to several doctors in town. He's had a lot of pretty severe conditions occur. And he's been to some of the people that I respect in town, but he's, I have to be able to tell them often, I have one chance to make a difference in your life. So at this point in my life and my career, after 30 some odd years, I'm just going to tell you what I think you need, and whether you start or not, it's up to you. But if I hold back because you don't want to hear it, like my friend up there didn't want to hear it, what service am I doing you? At least you can go away having the truth of somebody who is looking out over the long haul. And that's my truth. It may not be their truth, or it might not be another practitioner's truth. But the truth for me is looking to handle the upstream cause of the problem, especially now that I work with Dr. Pompa for the last 5 years. I'll be up in Utah with him in 3 weeks doing what's called the Live It to Lead It convention. The 20 or 30 platinum doctors that work with them will be there. And then the general contingency of the other docs and public will come. But I can't wait, because we're always breaking new ground and finding out new ways and new innovative ways to help people. Now, in my office, I do a lot of things, but I also have friends around the country, medical doctors, that do things that I can't do. Especially my friend, Dr. Tomas up in Portland, Dr. Lori, all over the country. And so sometimes you need to go out of this state just to find doctors that are willing to do what it takes to get you healthy. And don't wait till it's too long, till it's too late. Sometimes people come in and it's very difficult to try to help them. And if they have the ways and means, then you really want to consider doing something about it. So I had another patient who's become a very dear patient of ours. She came in, she was referred in, it's been I think February, and she came in, she's in her 60s. She came in with a cane. A friend of hers had referred her in. She was in a lot of pain. Very medically oriented. In fact, her previous husband, who had passed away, was a medical doctor who did not believe in chiropractic, nor did she when she came in, but she was desperate. And I was talking to her the other day, and Friday, in fact, and she was just telling us how much she loved us and how much she appreciated us. But the funny thing was, when I did the exam on her and the x-rays originally, she was telling me how much she didn't really like being in our office. She didn't really believe what we were doing. And she's only there because her friend referred her in. And I listened and I acknowledged her. And I said, well, look, this is what we need to do. I don't even know if you're right for this office or if I can help you, but let's do this. We're going to take these x-rays of you. We're going to do an evaluation. I'm going to have you come back. And by the way, I never charge to sit down with somebody to just find out whether we can help them. If we need to go further, I'll let them know. But she came back in. I did what's called a report of our findings with her, showed her her x-rays, kind of a mess. She looked at them, told her what she needed. She didn't want to believe she needed the care I was prescribing for her or suggesting to her. So I believe at that point she walked away and didn't start care. Then a little while later, she came in and said, hey, look, okay, I want to just do part of this. I just want to see how it goes. And, I explained to her that, if we start doing a little bit and not finish it, then you're probably not going to feel the results until we're well into the program. So she finally, and I'm just saying, I don't think we're the right office for you. Let me refer you to somebody that's more able to potentially get you out of pain quicker, but not necessarily deal with the underlying cause. So I tried to just politely refer her to somebody else. And the more I did that, the more she said, no, I think I'm going to give you a chance. So she did. And now she loves us. And she talked to me the other day and said, you guys have changed my life. I was so negative when I came in here. I was, and now I don't even need a cane anymore. And my life has changed. Now, that's not going to happen with everybody. Some people, when you come in, we have to realistically look at where you are and how far up is up based on what you brought us. Sometimes, it's a little bit too late to maybe get somebody completely out of pain or functioning, or maybe they can't walk the John Muir Trail yet or again. But if we can at least slow down the degenerative process, take the pressure off the nerves so the communication from the brain to the body is working better and the body can start to function better, then awesome. We'll let them know what we think we can. Life is pretty amazing. The body, look at how far we've come or you've come in your life. What obstacles, what stresses have you overcome? Think about a weed. Weeds grow out of a piece of cement and, there's a tiny crack and a weed grows out of it. And, you pull the weed out and it comes back. You pull the weed out, it comes back. So unless you hit it with something deadly like glyphosate, which kills it and will probably kill you, then, the weed continues to grow. If you ever go up into the Sierras and you see a pine tree growing between a rock that it split in half, a little seed got probably pooped by a bird and landed on a little crevasse in a rock. Then the weather came and rained on it, and then snow sat on it. And as the snow melted, that seed sprouted and the root found its way into a tiny crack in that huge granite rock. And over 3,000 years, bristlecone pine trees, the oldest trees in the world, are still growing, coming out of those rocks. Life is, and they've had, just think about what trauma and elements they've been exposed to. So your body is very resilient. Don't give up on it. If you're not doing the right things, then maybe change what you're doing. Listen to Albert Einstein's story about if you keep doing the same thing and expecting a different result, then perhaps you got to look at your sanity a little bit. So medications work that way, and I'm not a medical doctor. I don't prescribe or deprescribe medication, and I don't recommend that you do anything along that line unless you talk to a medical doctor, your doctor. But you can also say, I'm interested in alternatives. What do you recommend? And if they don't have recommendations, and often they're too busy to have a chance to do any research, then go, okay, well, I'm going to go, and if my condition's worse enough, I'm going to run anything by you before I make a change. But I feel like perhaps I need to take another look at how to enjoy my twilight years. There's this thing called your legacy, right? We've all been taught to, go to school, pay attention, sit down, shut up, study, get a job, work hard, put away for the future. And then we do, but when we retire, the average lifespan is 23 to 27 months after retirement. The average American drops dead. So that's wonderful. You've worked all those years to get into your twilight years, and then you've got, potentially 2 years left on average. So what about looking at a health legacy? We were never taught this in school. We were taught about money, maybe, but we weren't taught about vitamins and minerals, about the depletion of our soil of vitamins and minerals, about different type of diets and inflammatory diets. That the breakfast of champions was, a certain type of flaky cereal, orange juice, and toast with butter on it, all of which increases your risk of diabetes. And, as we were talking a bit about peripheral neuropathy, but there's a lot of other causes of it. I've gone into that into another show. But if this makes any sense to you, you can always go to KSCO and re-listen to the show. It will be up on my YouTube channel within a few days. Dr. Duncan McCollum, it's videoed, so you can watch me talk. You can go to McCollum Wellness Radio and hear it. Send it to somebody you know that needs help. Come on into my office, call and try the stem cell machine. $49 special. We'll interview you first, and if it's not, we shouldn't go forward. There's no fee. But if we do, we typically will take an x-ray of the affected area and try one of the soft wave therapy treatments on you, and then have you come back for no charge to find out whether or not we think it's going to change your life. And most of the time it does. Sometimes it may not. But we can also talk about the toxicity level in your body. All right. Because now that I'm not treating, I have a great doctor. It gives me a lot of other time to do what I need. So Dr. Taylor does the adjustments now. I do the consultations and report of findings. We are looking at chiropractic, unbelievable, get your body working right. We're looking at the stem cell machine, or the TRT machine, the soft wave machine it's called, to help restore the joints, get your own stem cells driven into the area. Peripheral neuropathy is one of the things we're working with now, innovative, top of the line type of things to get your peripheral nerves to regrow again by removing toxins, increasing oxygen to the area, and working with biofeedback to reestablish the nerve that travel up and down the body. And it's called neuroplasty. We know that the peripheral nerves will grow 1 millimeter a day as long as we do the right things faster than the wrong things can be done. And now with my extra time not adjusting, I'm able to work with the Dr. Dan Pompa program, the core cellular healing program, help people get into the detox necessary to help get all of these toxins out of the body. I'm also, because I am on a panel with Dr. Dan Pompa, once a week, 20 to 30 docs get together to discuss difficult cases. So if you are one of those people, you will, if it's with your permission, we will bring it up to our group of problem solvers, clinicians. So it's not just me, but it's a whole group of people that are working to help you get your life back. So it's been a pleasure talking at you today. This is Dr. Duncan McCollum, McCollum Wellness Radio, every Saturday, and then Mondays from 3 to 4 o'clock. Again, McCollum Wellness Radio, Dr. Duncan McCollum in Capitola, 459-9990. Come try the $49 special for the TRT machine, and or call about the peripheral neuropathy or cellular detox. And we're always there for chiropractic. See you next week. Thank you. Rise above, people.
We will rise above. We will rise above.